Welcome to the February 20th Blue Earth County Board meeting. I'll call this meeting to order. First, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. For those stand, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 2 on the agenda is the agenda review. Bob, please.
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda this morning.
I move to approve.
Okay, I've got a motion
Second.
and a second. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The agenda is approved as distributed. Item number 3, tab 1, is the All Seasons Arena renovation feasibility report. We'd ask Mankato representatives to come forward, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
And if you would, all three, please identify yourselves for the record and for the recording.
Absolutely. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Susan Arntz, and I serve as the City Manager for the City of Mankato.
Commissioners Parker Scopehammer, Director of Administrative Services, City Mankato.
Commissioners, Jim Tatchy, Facilities Manager for the City Mankato.
All right. Bob, is there anything as we start this off you'd
Well,
like to add?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, as you're aware, there has been talk of renovating the All Seasons Arena, and so we're at a point with the All Seasons Arena Board where we're ready to move ahead with bids and stuff, and so City of Mankato staff are here today to kind of give the board some background information on the feasibility report that's been received, as well as some of the cost estimates and the plan to go out for bids in the approval process. So I'll let City Manager Arntz continue.
Okay, please.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, so today we're here as a culmination of probably 2+ years of work. As Mr. Meyer suggested that it's time to renovate, and we've been talking about it, I believe this community's probably been talking about renovating All Seasons Arena for decades. The conditions of the arena, as you're going to hear today as we talk, especially in the south rink, the ice system there is beyond its useful life and is close to failure. We have had leaks at the arena that we've been able to temporarily resolve. However, we are, one Saturday away from potentially not having ice for youth in our community to consume. The condition of the south rink is such that if the ice system were to fail, we could not recover that arena or that rink without, even with a temporary system. So if that ice system fails, that sheet is down completely until it's renovated. So as such, we have been working with the All Seasons Arena Board. We're appreciative of Commissioner Peepo, who's been doing a lot of good work with the board on that. We've done, in addition to just reviewing the arena, we've reviewed bylaws. We've done, a lot of what I'll just say is kind of background work. Today we're here to talk to you a little bit in more detail about the improvements. I believe you have some images that our staff will walk through, answer any questions you have, and then we can also address kind of how the finance position works with the partnership that we have. So with that, I'd introduce Parker Scopehammer.
Thank you. Commissioners, just to kind of set the table, we have, as we move through the memo, we have the project feasibility specifics. And really there's two different options as it relates. The first option is really the full scope. It's everything that we've heard from the end user groups, and we're able to put together a pricing package based off of what was included. The second option is really the option that allows for bid alternates, and we'll comb through that as kind of a second or a contingency plan based off how the bids come in. Based off of as City Manager Arntz stated, we have met with all of the user groups that consume ASA. And through those meetings, some of the project specifics that are included in the project feasibility is construction of a 1,200 square foot addition to house a combined ammonia and ice plant. So as it sits today, both of these systems, the North Rink has an indirect system utilizing R22, and the South Rink has a indirect system using R22. The piece to this is that the South Rink has components within it that are 50 years old. And as City Manager Arndt stated, we do not have the ability, if that goes down, we do not have the ability to save it. The North Rink has a system that is 20 years old. Typically, these ice plants range from 20 to 30 years. So, I mean, it's time for that improvement. What is included in this feasibility is that there would be a full replacement to an ammonia-based system. We would replace the South Rink concrete cooling piping both on the North and South Rink. On the North Rink, we would also adjust the sizing of the rink to an NHL size, which you see a lot of arenas around the state moving towards. We would replace the North Rink dasher boards in glass. This would allow for the additional spectator mezzanine and seating of 450 fans in the North Rink. Again, this isn't necessarily something, maybe I'll back up. Our first goal with this was to ensure that our youth had a place to play hockey, that they had a place to skate. And obviously there's risk in the current conditions of the ice plant. The second piece is that we heard from a lot of the user groups and just the viewing opportunities and the lack of amenities. And that's really where you start to see some of the mezzanine and things like that come into play. The second piece on what I'll call more of the amenities that we heard a lot about was the lobby space and lack thereof. The existing plan, as the feasibility reads today, would allow for expansion of that lobby space to allow for whether people are meeting afterwards, whether teams are getting together, to eliminate some of that congestion. Relocation of the concession and public restroom areas to the second floor. This was really a standpoint of, certainly hockey is a big user, but talking with figure skating. Figure skating, right now the concession is down on the first level. Right next door to that is the figure skating locker room. And often what happens is we're putting people in unfortunate situations when they're going to buy popcorn, and you've got viewing right into the figure skating locker room. So we're trying to piece those things apart. The plan as is today, from the feasibility standpoint, would move those concessions upstairs. So we're really separating viewers and users, and that's what that would address. Certainly there's a replacement of several building mechanical systems, including air handler, dehumidification, boiler, and furnaces. It would remove non-code compliant materials of wood studs and plywood wall coverings. You see that certainly on the South Rink as you go in there. And then maybe the other piece that it's not mentioned as a bullet point in here, but collectively, it's the ADA aspect of it. Right now, if you're coming in from out of town, you have to know to use the west side of the rink to access that elevator. These improvements would allow you to access from either side. There would be space for anybody, whether that's using a wheelchair or what have you, to access that elevator and not have to go out and around. So that's a huge component. That's kind of the overview of the improvements. The price of the feasibility, to which we work with ISG and Knutson Construction, comes in at $12,991,000. Now, for perspective's sake, this summer, when we had an initial before we moved forward with the design, we came with an initial estimate of what we thought these improvements would cost. That amount was $11.6 million. So right now we're at a difference of about what I'll call $700,000. But there's two things that I would note that are additional revenue sources. The first being that the R22 that I mentioned, that this current system, ice systems are currently using, each one of those, well, I'll say the South Rink contains about 6,000 gallons of R22. The North Rink contains about 1,000. 1 pound of that is about $35. So we have the ability, and we think it's a realistic estimate to say that we could sell that R22 for about $140,000. The second piece that was not included in this summer's conversation was we have talked with MAHA. There is a dry land, what I'll call training room, that's included in this $12.3 million price tag. They have agreed and in fact met last week to do the initial cash contribution in combination with fundraising to fund up to $180,000. So that brings that gap, if you will, to about $371,000 for the total price. For Blue Earth County, you know, what that means is as called out in the joint powers agreement, Blue Earth County would be responsible for 7.77% of that cost. After you portion out or allocate the R22 sale and MAHA, based off of where we were at this summer with a previous contribution of $815,000, we'd be at $842,000. So a difference of about $27,000 for that complete package. I'd take any questions based off of what is included in that and any of the initial pricings before we dive into the bid alternate strategy.
Any clarifying questions?
Nope, I don't have anything at this point.
The second piece to this then is that being that timing is critical with this project, and it's going to be a project that we continue, a facility that we continue to utilize during the course of construction. A bid strategy was important from the standpoint of certainly giving the various bodies an option to reduce cost if bids come in high. But secondly, because timing is going to be so tight, we cannot afford to have continuous bid packages where we have to go out and rebid things. So we are looking at alternates. We have 8 listed, 6 that I want to highlight. These 6, the first 6, represent the possibility of a deduction of $279,000. They include the replacement of entry doors into the main lobby, reassembly of the skate treadmill, removal of windows along the south elevation of the building, exterior paint and new exterior signage, replacing 6 existing electrical subpanels, installation of a reclaiming heat exchange for the ice plant for domestic water use. What essentially this means is that we would use the heat generated from the ice plant to heat bathrooms and showers. That would be considered an alternate. And then the south rink lobby stair configuration, second floor lobby windows, and additional concession area windows. We would consider those as potential alternates. The number 7 as listed is listed as an alternate because it's still in the design factor. We do estimate that there will be a deduct just based off of where those estimates will come in at. And then the other piece to this, number 8, is that last week we did submit for a Mighty Ducks grant of $400,000 to assist in the overall funding. One of the components there, just based off of where we would qualify, and where we would qualify is based off of the ice plant replacement, is that they have prevailing wage. What we want to be mindful of is oftentimes prevailing wage exceeds the amount of money that you're actually granted. So we have that as a continued analysis. If we were to be awarded, that's something that we would certainly keep Administrator Meyer and the boards apprised of. So just to give perspective is if we were to eliminate those first 6 altogether, those 6 alternates altogether, again, we would start with about a $400,000 gap. The difference would be about $91,000. The impact to Blue Earth County, based off of where we were from projection standpoint this summer, is about $5,000. Would be at $5,000 more, $820,000 as compared to $815,000 from this summer. So we think we have a funding strategy to leverage as many dollars and keep it relatively close to what was provided and approved as an initial financial projection from each jurisdiction this summer. With that, I take any questions.
Questions?
We talked about this at a work session or 2 probably at length, so I appreciate all your efforts. And Bob, refresh my memory, I think we have the money and are able to do this, and we were going to do a cash payment if I recall.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Brunder, we did budget about $815,000 based off of the original estimate, so that is in our 2024 capital budget.
Okay. I don't have any specific questions. It's a taunting project. I mean, this is huge. I mean, we've heard numbers as high as 40 million when this first started coming,
Correct.
so I appreciate this number much more. So
But, looks good to me. I mean, appreciate all your work.
Well, for the 10 years before Mark was on there, I was on the ASA board. So I know the issues that are going on. And I know all the different things that we've tried to figure, trying to get different land, trying to get different areas. Like I said, this seems like a very, very responsible, well thought out program, and I'll certainly support it.
Any other discussion? Any other
Just
comments?
maybe one other comment. So, with your consideration, this evening we will be, you've got the schedule in front of us, so, or in front of you. We will be in front of the City of North Mankato this evening, doing a similar presentation. The Mankato City Council will hear this at their meeting on the 26th. We intend to go out to bid on the 27th if everything gets authorized. And then, assuming that moves forward with our going out to bid on the 27th, we'll be back in front of you with those bids April 9th.
Awesome.
An aggressive timeline. It's good.
Good.
Yeah. And then we hope to start at the end of April,
Oh, wow.
if we can. It might just be moving things out of the facility, but you do have 11 by 17 colored images and renderings of the potential facility improvements. One thing I would note is the board, ASA board has given us direction to give some consideration to a new logo. So the images you see on the exterior of that building are not illustrative of what we're talking about. They're just a placeholder. The ASA logo currently doesn't work well on images like this. So it's something that we'll be giving some consideration for as well. Not changing the name, but just maybe a different look on the logo.
Thank you
Very
much.
nice, the way it looks.
Great.
I haven't been there in years, but
Yep, thank you.
It'll be even better when we're done.
well, just the few pictures, it looks very nice, so.
Well,
Mr. Chair,
and I would just add, as a father of boys and grandsons, it's always good to have opportunities for the youth to be involved year-round and in many different activities, and this is something that's important not only to the city, but the entire county, the whole community, it's all our communities, so I appreciate that. I'm sorry, Mr. Meyer, I cut you off.
no, I just wanted to point out that I appreciate the work of the city staff. One of the things that they really stressed is the desire to keep both rinks operational throughout this construction process during, typical fall and winter ice activities. And so they've put together a schedule that accomplishes that, again, assuming everything goes as planned, but, they really have worked hard with the construction manager and the architects to come up with a plan that will allow the community to still have access to the facility during ice season and still accomplish this large renovation project that is desperately needed.
Well, this is just
Very nice.
another case where the city of Mankato and Blue Earth County works in partnership with each other. I don't know if everybody knows how much we work together. And Blue Earth County's got some construction stuff coming out. We'd appreciate the same consideration coming from you.
Very good.
So this probably be best handled with two separate actions, correct?
That's correct.
So the first, I would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution accepting the feasibility report and ordering the improvement for the renovation.
So moved.
Second?
And a motion and a second discussion. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. That motion is carried. Second action item I would ask for is a motion approving the addendums to the professional services agreement with ISG.
So moved.
And a motion and a second discussion. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion's carried. Anything else we could do to make your day better?
Somebody's got to fold clothes.
Okay,
I'll give you the garage code.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Susan, you want that copy? We got plenty here.
Yeah, here, you can,
You might need them for later.
you might need to hand some to the North Main Kiddo City Council.
That looks specific to us, so.
Yeah, we've already seen all that, so thank you very much. We appreciate it, though.
Yeah, very good.
The next item on our agenda, item number 4, tab number 2, is to set a hearing for County Ditch 78. Let's hear from our ditch folks.
Yeah,
Good morning, Craig.
morning. I have one item today. This is regarding petition for improvement on County Ditch 78. The Blue Earth County Ditch 78 watershed is approximately 9,200 acres in size and located in Vernon Center Township. A petition for improvement was received on May 30th, 2023. On July 11th, 2023, the Drainage Authority appointed Charles J. Brandel of ISG as the project engineer. Mr. Brandel was ordered to prepare a preliminary survey report. The preliminary survey report was filed at the Blue Earth County Property Environmental Resources Department on September 5th, 2023. At today's meeting, the Blue Earth County Drainage Authority, we are requesting the Drainage Authority approve the findings and order setting a hearing date for March 5th, 2024.
Okay, you've heard the request. Before I ask, I would just disclose as a landowner, I am a benefiting landowner on Ditch 78. I certainly support this and plan to do that. Plan to support this request to set the hearing, but just wanted to make sure that that was disclosed. What is your preference?
I'll move approval.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Discussion? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion's carried. We will set the hearing date for March 5th, 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Craig. Item number 5 on the agenda, tab number 3, Human Services. Good morning, Mr. Clausen. How's Phil?
Morning, Phil.
Morning.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, good to see you. Mr. Chair, I have 2 action items to begin with, and then some informational items that are a little more involved today. So we'll try to get through those in a timely fashion. For the action items, first, financial assistance, South Sudanese Community of Minnesota. This is a interpreter contract with the language of Nuer, and our interpreting services help with language barriers when completing applications and forms, and also the interview process for our programs that we administer, which can be complex. And so those are the primary purposes of this contract. It is a mandatory responsibility of ours to provide this service. This is a renewal, $70 for the first hour and $17.50 for each 15-minute increment after that. The provider also has a reduced rate for no-show appointments if not canceled 24 hours in advance. The term is January 1st of 24 through December 31st of 24. And my second item, actually with 2 parts, has task force appointments. The first one, Reagan Sorensen for the Mental Health Task Force and Local Advisory Committee, Council, and Ms. Sorensen is a resident of District 4. Also Horizon Homes, which is a professional membership for the same task force. Aaron Pribble from Horizon Homes would be the representative, also coming from District 4. So those are my action items for today, Mr. Chair.
All right, they're not really related. Can we do them together, or should we do them individually?
You can do them as one.
We do them one as requesting action from the board.
Move to approve.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Discussion. We ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion carried. We will approve both of those recommendations. Go ahead, other items.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. The informational discussion items, 2 of those, both what I would consider very much front burner issues for us in Human Services, to update the board on housing, and then our adult initiative. So you'll hear Adult Mental Health Initiative. That our name of that is South Central Community-Based Initiative for our region. And so we'll be covering those 2 main areas. The housing that I'll walk through in the slides has 3 buckets, if you will. The first one is our long-standing Blue Earth County Supportive Housing Initiative. We talked about this briefly at a work session where we've gone from a regional footprint to a Blue Earth County footprint, and all the other counties also really wanted that to kind of go off in their own kind of customized way into the future. So I think all's well in that regard. You'll see general service here in the bar graph of 132 participants, 81 households for 23. And the second graph shows why people exited the housing program, and those that usually get most representation are going to institutional care, so somebody needs to go to a nursing home or treatment, something like that. And then towards the bottom of the graph, there's 2 reasons why people leave voluntarily. One is to go to subsidized permanent housing, and another one to go to unsubsidized permanent housing, competitive housing. So both of those are good outcomes. Really the purpose of what we're trying to do is help people get their feet underneath them and keep moving forward with stable housing. The second bucket is called Housing Support Long-Term Homelessness, so HSLTH. And yes, staff talk about that like it's a name of something. So we hear that a lot. This is a small program. You see really one staff has this caseload of approximately 12 people represented in the bar graph. Pretty stable utilization over the years. The uniqueness of this, as we all know, buckets can sometimes be defined by criteria, and this one is actually a little more permissive than the first one we went over, where the strict homelessness criteria does not need to be met, so there's a little more flexibility in this grant. And then you'll see a similar small sample size. It's hard to draw any conclusions, but voluntary closure, 3 people with voluntary closure, 2 subsidized housing, which again would be our primary goal, is to try to have people go from a transient type situation to a stable situation. The third bucket is referred to as CLI and Community Living Infrastructure Grant. And this is a relatively new grant. You'll see in the header that says it started in July of 22 and went through March of 24 here, so it's just about to end. We've spent about $500,000, 51,000 of that being for our admin fees. It's a 4-county project, so this one still does exist, but it's sunsetting. And you'll see the utilization of 112 households served in 23, and that's between all 4 counties, us being the lion's share of that. And then the number of people served was 230 in the second graph, and you'll see that adults and children are broken out in that graph as well. And the final one, also related to CLI, is what we can spend it on. So this grant, they all have some uniqueness or nuance to them. This one brings in something that we've really not had in the past, which is helping with application fees, security deposit, new rent, and then furnishings was an area where people could be moved into an apartment and have no furniture. And so now we were able to do that. Like I say, we hope that some of these funds will be replenished. We're not sure about that at this point, but it was very successful, and staff and myself just wanted to make sure board was aware that we were able to get this resource out the door and support families in a genuine way. So Mr. Chair, I'll probably take a breath and just see if there's any questions about that.
Questions or comments?
And the second, yeah, thank you. The second one is our adult initiative. Again, a very active area of our services in this last year, and I think will be into the future, mental health being a very prominent issue in all populations. Our initiative has been really successful and around for quite a while, so very stable. I picked just a handful of things to highlight here. If the board has any questions at all, I'd be glad to answer those. The very first category, organizational changes. Ricky Pribble came from Horizon Homes, and she is our regional manager, and she started this past April. And she has been a real asset for us. She's very knowledgeable. She's a mental health professional. So she knows the lingo and she knows the people, and so it's been a really good fit for us. We've also established a regional children's cabinet from all the participating counties, and that's where we're working on that idea of seeing if a provider would look at crisis services facility for children, because we just have no place to put these kids in. We have, again, a handful of kids out of state, very spendy. I just had staff contact me this morning asking if we could go for a visit. I think this one was in Oklahoma. And just because the kid's being transitioned to, I think, bio dad, but we've got to go make another visit. And it takes days and cost to just get that to happen. But the alternative is to just blow it apart and not do it, which isn't right either. So we're kind of caught between the expenses and trying to get these kids in a good, stable situation. Skipping down maybe to psychiatry, all you know, this is a tough practice for us. I'm actually very proud that we're able to keep prescribers. They're, as you can imagine, really expensive and really hard to kind of court and have them join us. So they must like our clinic to stay, because it's a very highly competitive situation. And we have lost some prescribers. You'll see we were about 87% spent on the second bullet, and that's because we had some folks leave. And so that was, that's something we just have to kind of get back on our horse about. And then you'll see 157% of urgent care, which I think is a really good sign that people are reaching out and asking for help, is really how I'd interpret that bullet. And so we're more than making up for help in that way through urgent care. Again, that either psychiatrists, prescribers, or therapists can help. And also our mobile crisis, which we'll talk about in a minute. Let's see. And then the other one I highlighted is at the bottom of the page, at least my page, stakeholders meeting. The reason I highlighted this is it says the Tamara Rovney Award was awarded to Melinda Henderson. So Melinda's been a prescriber for us, an advanced practice nurse for many, many years in the community, worked at the state hospital. We had a job share situation for many years. She's, I guess, again in another phase of retirement, but she's still hanging on and giving us some service. But it was really nice for her to be recognized. She has been a mainstay for us in our clinic, but really in the entire community. And then the crossover with the state has also been just very valuable in a structural kind of way. So I just wanted the board to be aware of that really good thing.
So I want to congratulate her as well. I want to move up to clubhouses.
Yes.
You know, we're one of the 10 counties in this. You know, it always catches our eye when my eye anyway, when it sees it doesn't include Blue Earth County. Their data hasn't been submitted yet.
Right.
Being one of 10, I'm assuming we're not necessarily significant, but those numbers will increase. And
I actually think so, Mr. Chair. I think it is significant, and I do not know why that we missed that, if there's like a business reason for that, or if we were just slow on the draw. So I have to check into that. But yeah, I think it skews the number, and you see that in some of the other graphs. We're usually, you know, a pretty significant chunk of what the picture is. So I think it's a very fair point.
thank you.
Thank you. So on the back, I think there's just two other things that I was going to kind of highlight to the board. The crisis services is got 3 like arrows next to it. So mobile crisis, the crisis center, and then an other category. And this has been a very active piece. So this is where, if there is development happening, it's in this area. and responding to the needs in the community, of course. You'll see the number of calls, 5,660, which is about a 10% increase from last year, which is very significant. And you'll see that we're having a bigger presence in children's services, again, including this mobile crisis type service. And then we offer assessments both on the kid and adult side, and then stabilization services, maybe at the crisis center or an outpatient treatment plan, just to stabilize the circumstance. So people will go out from mobile and try to stabilize those situations, do an assessment if needed, and I think it's been a highly effective service. The crisis center, which you're all aware of, admits 832, which is pretty stable with last year. And the reason for that is it was 70% occupancy this last year, 75%. That's actually full, just because of the churn and beds and moving people through. I don't think we'd even want to be higher than that. So we're at capacity, but at a manageable level. I don't think we're in an expansion situation, but that could be next. Hard to know. But that resource is being used to the full. And then just in that final category, we added the first bullet, sub-bullet, is mobile crisis, 2 satellite sites. So Brown and Rice both have a hub so that they have mental health professionals that can be deployed out of their area. So it's just a geographic issue about drive time. And so far so good. I mean, I think it's been a really great add, and it gives us a better mobilization for that kind of need. Let's see. And then the second to last bullet is working with Mayo Hospital on expansion project. And so really our working with them means our adult initiative money that we're sharing with them. It's a similar thing to the satellites in Brown and Rice. Mayo is open to expanding mobile access through their EDs or their clinics. The first phase of their expansion is going to be at our ED, our emergency department here, Albert Lee, and Fairmont. So those 3, in addition to Horizon Homes already. So there'll be 4 different pieces there. And I think it is a really important breakthrough. Sometimes it's hard to, kind of push through some of the red tape between our system and theirs, but we have done that, so I'm very pleased about that, and their willingness to partner. I think it is a win-win because, as you can imagine, they a lot of times want some of those hard-to-serves out of their ED. They're disruptive, they're hard to serve, and if we can triage those out for them or help them, they're all about that. So hopefully this will gain some more momentum, and we can develop this as kind of a pathway for the future. Finally, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, the last section, 2024 and beyond, the children's residential facility I just highlighted again. We do have a final draft of an RFI where we're just asking providers who might be interested to raise their hand and let us know what they might be willing to do. And so at this point, we don't know the funding stream, we don't know what kind of scope or how many beds they'd be looking at, but it's a deep need for us, and if we can get somebody to stand up some services in this area, hard to serve area, we would be very happy about that. And the whole region's part of that, and we'll see where it goes, and we'll keep the board informed if anybody does show interest. So I think we'll have 1 or 2 at most, is my guess. So it's not going to be a floodgate.
Thank you for that report. Any questions on that annual review? Or anything else?
Always informative. We really appreciate the work you do. Some of us know more about the work you do than others, and I know how important it is for the county's strong support in mental health issues and stuff.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Good to see you all. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Item number 6 on the agenda is administration. Mr. Meyer, please.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, the first item is the county board minutes for February 6th.
I'll move the minutes.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The minutes are approved.
Next are the bills for the 2 weeks indicated.
I'll move the bills.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second for the bills from February 1st through 7th, 8th through 14th. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The bills are approved.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 6 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. Do have one action item for the board's consideration today, and that is authorization for the chair and the county administrator to sign an agreement with the Law Enforcement Labor Services. This is our dispatch unit. We were able to negotiate an agreement with this bargaining group for a 2-year agreement covering calendar years 2024 and 2025. Much like our other agreements already in place for those years, we had the same general wage increase of 3.25% for both of those years. We also included in the 2024 wage a 3% market adjustment, which is the same amount as we've done with other county staff. There were a few language changes to the contract, but all of those were to make this agreement consistent with other bargaining groups that exist. A couple of those are lead worker pay and shift differential. The shift differential maybe being the more significant one in terms of extending shift differential to all day Saturday and Sunday, whereas prior we had it just for a shift on the weekend. So, but again, that's consistent with where we've gone with some other 24/7 bargaining groups. So bringing it here today for the board's consideration, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried.
Under informational items, I have a number of items to report to the board today. We have filled a social worker, behavioral health case manager. We also had a lateral transfer of a social worker in our Human Services Department to another position within the department. And then we filled a social worker in our supportive housing area. We also have filled a number of deputy sheriff positions, so there's 3 of them listed there. And then we also filled a correctional officer position in the jail, actually 2 of those. And then lastly, we had a revision of a start date of an assistant county attorney. So be happy to answer any questions the board might have on those human resources items.
Any questions?
No questions?
Thank you. Continue.
Nice to see another Purvis on the county.
Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 7 in your packet then is a memo regarding the Lasua River watershed collaboration. This is in regards to the fiscal sub-agreement. It really basically defines the fiscal agent role that will be performed for this joint powers collaboration. The Joint Powers Agency has designated the Waseca County Soil and Water Conservation District as the fiscal agent for the collaboration. It gives them some responsibility to enter into grant agreements and sub-agreements with the parties of the collaboration, and basically their responsibilities are to carry out the goals of the plan. The fiscal agent sub-agreement clarifies the responsibilities for the fiscal agent, including submitting grant applications, work plans, and funding requests. This agreement also identifies the responsibilities of the individual counties and soil and water conservation districts who receive funds as a part of implementing these plans, and those responsibilities are outlined in the memo in the packet. So the requested board action today is a motion to approve the Le Sueur River Watershed Collaboration Fiscal Agent Sub-Agreement, and so bringing it here for the board's consideration.
Sure. I would make that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion
Second?
and a second discussion. I would just add as the representative on that board, that was, we had 26 meetings as we came together with this. This is a little different, being a collaboration than a joint powers entity, and because of that collaboration is, we felt that it would be important that these types of things come back to each respective agency. This is something we supported originally was that, but that's why we're seeing this again, is any significant documents being a collaboration, it's important that we have transparency to all of the SWCDs in the counties. And this is something we'll probably see more of. We're into that implementation on this watershed, but we're in the very early stages of now the Minnesota River One Watershed One Plan, as well as the Blue Earth River One Watershed One Plan. So this is something that I certainly will support, and we supported it as a voting member as well. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion's carried. We'll approve Le Sueur River Watershed Fiscal Agent Agreement, Sub-Agreement. Next, please, Bob.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Tab 8 in your packet is the financial status report for January 31st of this year. This is the first month of our fiscal year, so there's not a lot of activity, but you'll see our total revenue sit at $3.3 million compared to expenses of just under $12 million. So again, our cash flow is such that we are drawing more from reserves during this early part of the year. Couple of things to maybe note is on the expenditure side of things, our contracts and fees line is up quite a bit from the prior year. I think that's highly reflective of our County Road 13 bridge project, where we typically don't have road construction projects that are going on throughout the fall and winter. Also, our building and equipment purchases line is higher than the prior year. I did take some time to review some of that information. A couple of things to note there. We did purchase a number of large equipment items in our Public Works Department and Sheriff's Department earlier than we typically do, just because of some of the lead times to get some of these pieces of equipment. But we also had about $400,000 related to our congressionally directed spending activity for our energy efficiency project that showed up in January of this year, where we expected most of that expenditure to have happened in 2023. So we will see some variances throughout the year with things where timing is an issue. When we go down to the enterprise fund, then our Ponderosa landfill, you'll see that our total revenues were $389,000 against expenses of $220,000, so nothing much to address there. And then on the second page, you'll see our cash and investment balances. At the top, our total available funds at just under $71 million, compared to a 6-month operating needs of $62.5 million. Down a little further on the page, you'll see our total county funds with all our dedicated funds included at $133 million, up some from prior years. So be happy to answer any questions the board might have on the financial status report.
Questions or concerns? Okay, thank you for that report. Item 7 on the agenda, our commissioners' reports on committees. Vance, would you like to start us off, please?
I sure can. After our last board meeting, we had a work session that was connected to our board meeting. The next day, on February 7th, we had a department head meeting. And then on the 8th, I had myself and Commissioner O'Connor flew to Washington DC for the NACO Ledge Conference, and that ran through the 14th. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Brunder.
My report is relatively short today also. I had the work session that Vance mentioned. I was also at the department head meeting. We did not have a P&Z agenda for that night. No items to discuss. And then just had several phone calls regarding some ditch projects I'm working on and a few calls on the snow plowing, or lack thereof, maybe in some areas. So, but not a lot of them this year, which that's okay. That's my report, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. My report since the February 6th board meeting, again, the work session that's already been mentioned. From the 6th to the 8th, I participated in the AMC Drainage Conference, including being on a panel, commissioners panel on that. Like Vance has mentioned, 9th through the 14th, I participated in the NACO Legislative Conference. Saturday, our Ag Policy Committee met, which I serve as a vice chair. The Rural Action Caucus meeting then was the next day, as well as the Minnesota Caucus. We also participated in the Central Region meetings out there, as well as general sessions and others. And then the last day, as vice chair, one of the vice chairs of the Ag Policy Committee, we met with the staff of both the Senate Ag Committee Majority staff, the Senate Ag Committee Minority staff, as well as the House Agriculture Committee Majority staff that afternoon. And then that evening with the reception, had the opportunity to have conversations with Congresswoman Angie Craig and Brad Finstead, so we appreciated their time to visit with us. And that concludes my report. That concludes our agenda today. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Get a motion and a second. I will declare this, we need to vote. We always vote here. Some meetings the chair does it, but we vote. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Meeting adjourned.